Just let your soul glow.
Welcome to the Soul Shift Sessions podcast, where we dive deep into transformative conversations that empower you to elevate your mindset, break through limitations, and create the life you truly desire.
Hosted by Coach Sapphire Starr and Coach McCloud, this podcast is your go-to source for actionable insights, inspiring stories, and expert advice on personal growth, financial freedom, and living with purpose.
Each episode is designed to help you shift your mindset, overcome obstacles, and embrace a life of abundance and fulfillment. Whether you're looking to transform your relationship with money, enhance your well-being, or unlock your full potential, the Soul Shift Sessions will guide you on your journey.
Welcome to another episode of Soul Shift Sessions podcast, where we have deep, transformative conversations to help you transform your mind to transform your life. I am your favorite freedom and financial life coach, Coach Sapphire Starr. And with me, I have my favorite co-host, Coach
McCloud.
And we are here with another deep conversation. Are you guys ready? Put in the comment section if you're ready.
Are we ready?
Are we ready? No, está bien. We don't know. We're here. You're here. And so trust, we're going to have a good time. Yes. We're going to up around and find out. And so before we get into the conversation, we would like to invite you to join our Soul Shift Sessions tribe and go to www.soulshiftsessions.com and join us. If you would like to be a guest live on the show and have a conversation with us, go to www.soulshiftsessions.com and click the tab to be a guest. You can also follow us on social media platform Instagram at Soul Shift Sessions. We love to have you follow us and join us. Coach Kyle, what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about love, life, and our professions. And
juggling. How do we
juggling all those things, right?
All those balls.
All those balls, right? And I also would like to say, take that hoe out. Could you let it go?
Take that hoe out. If you did not see our last episode, and what was even the topic about?
I don't even know what we were talking about, but we were talking about like I think that was the big, small things.
Small things, small shifts, big impact.
Right. Small shifts, big impact. And we're talking about what's going on under the soil and how you have to, care for it. And you said, take that hoe out. And, and thank God you had the hand motion, right? Because otherwise it would not have gone over. I mean, technically it still didn't get over because I pointed it out to like everybody. However, take that hoe out. Take it out.
I do believe another head gesture, like I could have been like, and that would have been like, okay, this one or this one? Or pull the weeds out of your life, guys. If you want to produce a fruitful life filled with joy, peace, and happiness,
yes,
take that hoe out. That's the message.
I have a PSA though, and this is my PSA from Sunday. I feel like it just needs to be said again.
Okay.
Which is for all those cyclists out there who like to go out and ride by themselves. There's rush hour traffic, which I avoid. I avoid rush hour traffic as much because that's their time. Like they got places to go, places to be, and they might be running late. But that late for church crowd,
savages.
because the word of the day is dehumanization. And you, as a cyclist, are not a human when they are late for church. You
Listen,
are the enemy.
they want to go ahead and take you to glory so you can meet the Lord. Okay, they really trying to do you a service.
Is that what they're doing? Because I thought that they saw me as the enemy and was rocking their no weapon formed against me shall prosper.
No. How can we get him to glory, to meet the Lord and Savior?
Yeah. I don't think that the Bible says that we're supposed to make
Physically
people
sin.
go on to glory. Like I don't think that's in there, right? So like I think somewhere in the Ten Commandments, there's something that says we're not supposed to send people to glory, but they get it confused and think they got that spirit of David, right? And so that their car is like that slingshot, like
Taking them out. And there's a lot of things that's in the Bible and not in the Bible that people do in the name of the Lord. So we're not even going to go there.
But once I got to the countryside, everything was fine. But it was also at 9 o'clock service had already started by that time. So
You were safe.
I was safe at that point. But hey, right here in Jacksonville, Florida, don't be on them roads when they late for church. Don't be, unless you are moving at 30 miles per hour and they can see that you are clearly putting in an effort. Because besides that, you are no weapon formed against me shall prosper. And, and you are the weapon that is formed against them.
I'm safe to say that's probably any city in the U.S., not just Jackson.
It's not just Jacksonville?
Any
that's all I got, right?
City, right? Yes. So how do we, today we're talking about juggling the different things that we have going in our lives. That obviously people are juggling different things, but I just feel like we all have a sense of trying to manage different things without losing our minds. Like, how do we accomplish that?
Therapy.
Right? The AP. I feel like that's advanced level.
I'm sorry. I just kind of jumped there, right? Like I need to bring it back just a little bit. Okay. All right. So
you took the people to advanced placement classes. Let's bring the people down for the beginner.
Some of the people like, oh, that's all? I mean, shoot, I didn't even realize it. All I needed was some therapy. Hey, by the way, some of you do need it. But with that being said, so there's the family life, obviously, right? For those of us who are still having kids or you got kids that decided that they wasn't going to leave. And there's the wife or the husband, right? I can only speak on one side, which is the wife who we lovingly call management, right? So with the kids, I'm like, because my kids are not like I don't want to say that they're not the best performers in school because they have their own types of issues. And so when their stuff has to be turned in, like the computers and the phones, it's like, hey, did you ask management if you could have that? Right? Because what we're not going to do is I'm not coming to the office for something that you did or did not do. Did you clear it with management? So then they go talk to management and find out that, oh, I wasn't supposed to have my computer yet. So they would turn it in. It really, again, I know that I said dehumanization is the word, but it really does work here when we call our management as opposed to your mom, your mama, Patrice. Like, it's just better just call her management because then everybody understands what that label means. And then there's the professional life, right? And people talked about like not bringing work home, which work from home, right? And so it is here. And one thing that I've noticed that I do and that I've actually gleaned from others is really having that cutoff time. And there are times where like there's something going on, it goes a little late, and people understand that, but those are far and few in between, at least in this household. Once that time starts, it's like, all right, the person in IT goes somewhere else. Dad who makes dinner and sit and watches The Handmaid's Tale with one of the kids, that's who shows up, after 6 o'clock, or after between 5 and 6, cut off.
Yeah.
And I think that when you talk about juggling, that's really necessary, is having those hard stops or those boundaries, and whether it's something that you came up with yourself or something that you came up with your spouse or your significant other, but regardless, there has to, part of the balance and part of the juggling is saying, like, all right, enough is enough. And how many business owners have you heard of that have said that their biggest regret was just constantly working in their business and not taking the time to enjoy being with their loved one, the people that matter most to them?
Yes. That makes me think of the Steve Jobs quote when he said that most of the things in his life that brought him joy and happiness didn't cost money. And he quickly discovered that our most valuable asset is our time. And when we think about juggling love life, our professional life, our business, our money, all the things that are important to us in life, I think one of the most important things for us to think about and consider is time management, which you brought up very well when you said having a hard stop. I do believe as entrepreneurs that, especially when we're passionate about what we do, we don't set boundaries because it's like, oh, I'm helping people, or I'm creating an impact. But there's this book that's called When Helping Hurts. And
Ooh.
it's a great book because it talks about the other side of philanthropy and how you can create crutches for people to not help themselves, but also for the people that are involved on the giving side, that you give everything of yourself to others and not necessarily for yourself and your family and what you do with your time. So creating those boundaries, I think, is very, very important, because when you do work a job, some of us, when you do work a job, you have a start time, you have an end time. But then for those who are working from home, I also work from home, and I create my own schedule because I am the boss. Sometimes I work over. I do more than necessarily required because I may lock in, I may be leaning in, or I may just really, because I zone in on certain tasks and I just want to go ahead and get it done. So one of the most important things for me is that time management and time blocking. This is what I'm going to do between the hours of 10 to 5. I'm going to focus on these things. But I also don't just time block and time manage my work. I also time block and time manage my personal things that I like to do in terms of personal development and self-care. I prioritize those things because those things are very, very important to me. In order for us to juggle, that means that we're actively participating and involved in the managing of what's going on in our lives. Well, if our mind and our mental state is not strong or firm, then of course we're going to drop all the balls. Like everything in our lives really is going to fail if the foundation of who we are is not solid.
Here's what I appreciate about you is you don't have, like, the kids are grown, you got the grandbabies now, but they don't live in the same city as you.
Yeah.
And yet you still do maintain a schedule, almost as if there is other people in your life that live in the home with you,
Because
and
I'm not that far removed from that life. Like even
yeah.
with having an adult daughter and a grandbaby, not too long ago, I was living with my daughter, helping her take care of my grandbaby. So I was a stay-at-home nana and homeschooling. When you think about the pandemic, I was immediately thrown into homeschooling. I'm like, what is this? You know?
We were
And
all like that. All of us were like, what is going on here?
Yeah, and
Oh,
so Monday through Friday, I was with, homeschooling my grandbaby, but also working a part-time job on the weekends, also running my business. So I will say, and I tell people this all the time when it comes to your personal and your business finances, the habits and skill that you develop as a result of overcoming your obstacles and challenges and creating balance in life, these habits, it creates a template. The habits don't just go away. They're there. And for me, it's just a matter of shifting from, because life is going to change. We're constantly growing, we're constantly evolving. How do we ride that wave? How do we continue on the journey that we are on? And the reality is the person that you become as a result of setting that goal for yourself, that's who you become. So it doesn't go anywhere. So even though I don't have that necessarily that life structure anymore, the person I became as a result of that still here, and I'm still doing those things that keep me consistent and helping me achieve my goals. Because when you set one goal, you achieve the goal, then it's like, okay, what's next? What is something else that you constantly looking for opportunities to stretch myself outside of my comfort zone? And so again, those habits that I developed, they're there as if the same circumstance.
right. It's a beautiful thing. And the other thing that I noticed about you, and probably like a lot of the entrepreneurs that I meet, is the attention to self-care. You know, I know somebody that has a whole day dedicated, dedicated. I'm a little jealous because I'm not there yet. Just not there yet. Getting there, but not there yet. And can you tell us a little bit about the self-care day? How did this come about? What has been the result of it as you committing to that particular day for yourself?
Yes. So Me Time Friday, that's what I call it. This is some Me Time Friday started, I would say, almost 20 years ago. Almost 20 years ago when I was married with 3 kids. I always say 2.5 kids because I had my daughter and my husband had 2 boys. And so we had the blended family. I was working, even at that time, I was working 2 jobs. We had the house, the car, we had the 2 dogs, the pickets, the American dream. And one day, I believe I was listening to Oprah because I didn't watch Oprah on TV at the time because I believe she came on while I was still at work. So I wasn't on time watching Oprah, but I believe it was something I heard or read her say. And she talked about taking time out for yourself. This was 20 years ago. And she said, it doesn't matter if it's 10 or 15 minutes a week, a day, an hour. Take time out for yourself and do something for yourself. Don't include the kids, don't include the husband, don't include anybody. This is just for you. And so that started 20 years ago, and it was on a Friday. I said, okay, I'm going to take 2 hours on a Friday, and I will lock myself in the bath. It consisted of a glass of wine, bubble bath, and a book. I'm an avid reader. I love reading. It was no audiobooks, so I was actually reading a book that I checked out from the library. And I made the announcement to my kids, I'm not, and my husband, I'm not cooking. Don't ask me for nothing. These are my times. Don't bother me. You don't see me, even though I'm here. And it started
I
out with
cannot visual I got before you describe like the bath and all that stuff was lock myself in I pictured this woman lying myself in the bathroom just sitting go toilet. Like,
listen, it was a whole thing. I would light a candle. Listen, you couldn't tell me I wasn't in Spa Sapphire. Okay.
right. But that picture is totally different than the initial one I had.
Lock the bathroom. Okay.
Yeah, and locking the bathroom because I know how moms would lock themselves in the bathroom to get away from these doggone kids because it's like mommy, mommy, mommy. And it's don't be like multiple kids. They're just like pulling, pulling, pulling. So it's like I'm going to the bathroom, and they lock the door.
Yes, I locked the door, turn the lights off, light the candle. And it was just, I felt so, back then, only 2 hours. Just give me 2 hours. And that's how the ritual started. And it has evolved over the years. And I will say there are times in my life where I didn't have boundaries, and I allowed people and things to creep into my me time Friday. And can immediately feel the difference. I'm like, gosh, I feel off. Something's not right. And now I'm like, me time. I did not take my me time. So it has evolved, and now it's an entire day. It's so important to me, and it's my non-negotiable that I actually have it planned on my calendar. I'm not playing. Even with my business, I don't take calls. I don't teach. I don't do any of those things on Friday. Now, there are some exceptions to the rule. And if I have to shift, I'm like, okay, if I don't do it Friday, I'll do it Thursday. But that is a non-negotiable for me, to take time out for myself to do something that I love. And it doesn't have to be something extravagant. It could be something really simple. Sometimes I would just do my nails. It wasn't always run the bath, light a candle, because Friday, sometimes you're tired. So I sometimes would just do my nails, do my own pedicure. But it was just very important for me to, it was just a mini reset, so I can then be charged up to go back out and be the best mother I can be, the best scientist I can be, the best wife that I can be, the best overall person that I could be. But I had to carve out time for that. And it just, to me, everybody wins.
Yeah. Because people are better off when you're better off.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes.
And one thing that you also, I mean, granted, from an active standpoint, I'm pretty active. But there are times where I forget that being active is the thing I need in the moment. And you've actually, like, you've seen me, well, not physically seen me, but you've heard me over the phone how stressed out I can be. And you're like, why don't you just go for a walk? Just go for a walk. Get outside, change your environment. All the stuff that we're telling everybody else to do, right? Change your environment. Go for a walk, do something active, right? And you would, use that. And um those are the times where I really appreciate it, because there's so much noise sometimes that we have up here, that the things that will quiet the noise are so far away.
Yeah.
Like, I can easily, it doesn't cost me a thing to go ride my bike for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Doesn't cost a thing. Now, there are times where I probably shouldn't be out there. Rush hour, late Sunday, the late folks on Sundays. However, there's plenty of times around that where it's perfectly fine to be out there. And also, there are places you can go where there's just bikes, or just like bikes and walkers and so on and so forth. The active part, I feel, sometimes is the first thing to go when the stuff starts to hit the fan. And I don't know, because I've been Black all my life. So I can't speak for other races, but it seems that Black folk will tend to dig in even harder when things are out of balance with their effort, as opposed to stopping, taking a step back, evaluating what's going on, reality checking what's going on, and like making a conscious decision to take care of yourself. And for some reason, take care of myself seems to be like the last, for a lot of us, it's the last thing on the list.
Yes, because we've
Especially
been told, yeah, and fathers too, because we've been told that that's selfish, and for some reason, selfishness has gotten a bad rap, or it has become a negative connotation. But when you think about the airplane analogy, you have to save yourself first before you can save anybody else. I think that's a great way to look at it. And our past guests, Be More Raw, Brandice Rawls, when she came on the show, she talks about practicing the art of sacred selfishness. Like, what a great reframe. And it helps you look at that like, wait, that's a negative thing. How is it negative to take care of yourself?
Of yourself.
Selfishness doesn't mean, in my opinion. Now, I know some people think, well, you only think of yourself, and that's typically where people's minds go. But when you start practicing taking care of self, again, I believe everyone around you with that doesn't have to be a negative connotation. And also, like, there's a few things you said I wanted to speak to. One, again, like you said, Black folks, when we have this thing in our minds is, oh, hard work equals success. Like, work hard, work hard, work hard. And that is, to me, that is probably the biggest fallacy, that somehow your hard work, you're digging yourself into the grave, is somehow going to equal a good life. To me, that's a misconception. That is probably the complete opposite. You're going to wear yourself out, and you're not even going to have an opportunity to really enjoy life. Like, we're not here for us to take on more than we can handle for the sake of doing it, to say, well, I can. Right. So again, it goes back to that balance. And one other thing you said I would like to speak on is when we talked about those boundaries, like, just saying no, period. No is a complete sentence. Not feeling like you have to explain your no's, just no. But it's very important, in order for you to get to a place of saying no, hard stop, period. I believe it's important to go back to self and figure out what is important to you. How do you want to spend your time? What is the life that you desire to live, and creating a life by design? Once you're very clear on that, it's so much easier to say no to the thing that does not align with what you want. But you have to first get, well, what do you want?
Very good point. Good point. What do you actually want, and what
Yeah.
aligns with what you want?
Yeah.
First of all, I'm gonna need you to get out my head, because I was just thinking Be More Raw need to be in on this conversation, and then you said it out your mouth about one of her raw isms, and I was like, if you don't get out my head,
Yes, I believe that was season 1. Was she in season 1? Yeah.
Yeah, she was season 1. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely go, guys, definitely go check out season 1 with Be More Raw. You're in for a treat. We're always
Absolutely.
quoting rawisms on here.
Always. And you're right, though, that selfishness has gotten, well, in my opinion, it's always had a bad rap. It's just now, I would say in the past, 15, 20, 30 years, that it's started to shift, where it's like, I have to take care of myself. And the plane analogy is the perfect one, because you really do have to put on your mask before you can put it on to someone else. The challenge is that when you're on a plane, you see the mask, and you are given the indication that when that mask shows up, put it on my face. Out here in these streets, you may not realize that you don't have a mask on. And I think that's the challenge, right? Is understanding when you are doing more for others than you are for yourself. Well, let me say it a different way. Doing more for others at the expense of yourself.
I do believe there's signs. There's signs, just like the mask that you can see, but us ignoring them, because our bodies will definitely tell us, hey, you may be burnt out. Like, start having heart palpitations, you start feeling anxiety. You may wake up, especially when it comes to your job, you may wake up and just have this sheer feeling of terror. I would sometimes pull up to my job where I worked, and I would break out in hives. I would break out literally in hives before going to work, as well as sometimes when I pull up to my driveway at the house. Soon as I pull up, and so our bodies, our health will start declining, hair falling out, but we will ignore that. Oh, we'll be fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. And no, it's not fine.
And there's the other side of it is that there is this thought or this way of thinking that you can't say the thing. You have to say everything's fine. You have to constantly speak, positively. And I'm not saying that constantly speaking positive is incorrect, but I am saying that there is this line where we are not coming to terms with what's really going on, and we're hiding behind everything's fine. I'm okay. Men do this because we are constantly under these different pressures. Well, I say men, but you understand the type of man I'm talking about, the one that actually cares about the success of his self and the success of his family, and keeping a roof over his head and making sure that one last thing we want to do is have management panic. Okay. I don't need management panicking about the status of living, right? And so we keep it to ourselves. Whatever we're dealing with, we don't, because otherwise, and from experience, I have seen where people don't know what to do. Right? Like, if I'm not okay, I've seen the look on people's faces of them not knowing what to do because I was always okay. And the thing is, being able to actually say what's going on. Like, I believe everything is going to be fine. However, right now, in this moment, this is what I'm dealing with. And I don't see anything wrong with saying right now, here's what I'm dealing with. But we've kind of, I can say that all the men in my family would not have that conversation. They will keep it aside. And they're not going to go get therapy because they didn't know that that's what they needed to do, was go get some therapy. Instead, they just kept it all inside.
And that's really, really sad that, and you say this all the time, where men are dying on that white horse.
And on the horse.
And that just really breaks my heart sometimes when I think about the men in my family and the challenges they may have faced, and not even having, because men are human too, ladies.
Yeah.
And and not having an opportunity of getting that out and maybe turning to drugs and alcoholism just to feel a sense of peace and calm and relief. And
yeah,
and that really does break my heart. And that goes right to what you were saying about, okay, therapy. We're now at the advanced level where you how you give the beginner, intermediate, and now we're like therapy. Okay.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong. And I definitely, back in the day, we'll say like 20 years ago, had felt that, oh, well, that's not for me. Like, I don't need somebody all up in my business. I don't need that.
I think that's a Black thing too. Like, why are we like
we don't need somebody that's on my business.
on my business?
We got this. We'll figure it out. Like, we will get this thing sorted out.
That needs to be studied. That needs to be studied. That Black culture, I don't need anybody all in my business. That needs to be studied.
I feel, though, for the men aspect of it, that I do believe it transcends cultures, because I've heard Brene Brown talk about her husband and how they were on a trip and they were on the lake and she was trying to connect with him and he was not receptive to what she was saying. And Now she's starting to feel a certain kind of way because he's not responding the way that she's expecting him to respond. So now she's making it about her and that something's wrong with her and right? And then later on, when she like confronts it, which is to me a huge thing to be able to, after all that's happened, still go back and say, we got to have this particular conversation.
Yeah.
And that's where he lets her know that he was having a panic attack in the water because there's these kids and he's got to make sure that all these kids, because it wasn't just his kids, he had like, I think, nieces and nephews in there too. And then you got boats coming through. And so he's concerned about the overall safety of everyone else. And so he's having a moment. And then, you know, Brene Brown being who she is, and she's going to say like, oh, well, thank you for, he's like, he stopped her cold in her tracks. He said, because you would prefer me to die on that white horse than to tell you what I had going on in the moment with these kids, because y'all don't know how to react to that kind of stuff. And that's, by the way, that's paraphrased. I'm sure it wasn't exactly like that. But the thing is, when I heard that story, that's when I realized it wasn't just Black. That men who care about the family and the safety of the family and the health of the family, those guys deal with it in their own way, and it's not always healthy the way we deal with it, but we do it because the way we were brought up, culture, and even in the American culture as a whole, we are taught to be self-made, to take care of ourselves, and like everything is like self-made.
Yeah.
And, you know, don't be a baby, you know, don't be this, don't be that, don't be weak. And we will avoid everything to avoid looking weak. We will do whatever we can to not look weak. And so it's not healthy. And it's also not required, but it's almost like it's hardwired into our systems. And so anything that is like deep level programming requires deprogramming or another program installed in its place. And that's why, you know, I am a big supporter of getting therapy, because at the very least, you can get it out in words, at the very least. And sometimes just not even be able to say is crippling. So,
I was getting ready to ask you, you know, what are some of those things that women, you know, you as a male that's going through these particular things, what are some things that the women can do in your life, but also advice that women that are listening to this podcast, if they have a loved one and they want to be able to be there for them, but maybe they don't know how to do that, what are some things that men actually want to hear and see from their partners or people in their lives so they can just kind of help them?
ultimately, I'm going to say I don't know, because I think it is different from guy to guy. But I will say that for me, what helps me is obviously having the space to process it, whatever, like in silence without the constant questions. Like I'll get a lot of questions and then I have to say something like, can't talk about this right now. Oh, can't have this conversation right now. And the questions may have nothing to do with what's going on. It may have to do with just like a bunch of other stuff. And it's just like, can't do it right now. So having the space to just be however we're being, I think is huge. Like if I'm stressed out, allowing me to be stressed out, process what the stress is without trying to fix it. And I think that also is something that women also would appreciate, is us not trying to fix your problems all the time.
I was getting ready to say men are very linear thinkers, and
We're
women
fixers.
times we're thinking emotionally. So we're talking, not talking to get a solution. We're talking to get it out. But
Yeah.
men in their linear thinking hear a problem. Oh, let me solve it. And you're like, no,
Yeah.
I just want to talk about my raggedy ass coworker who actually standing. What I want to do. I don't need you to come up with a solution. Okay. I just want to talk about raggedy Nancy at work.
Let me tell you about my sister. I have learned over the years to ask her, do you want my input here or do you just want me to listen? And I literally do that with her. And there are times where she does want to hear what I have to say. And there are times where she just wants to do like you're saying, which is just get it out. Now, there are other times where my sister will revisit consistently over and over and over again this one thing that's bothering her. And so I get to a point where I'm saying, all right, you've been talking about this for X amount of days. What are you going to do with it? Because you keep coming and talking about it. And you're constantly getting upset about something that somebody else did. Are you going to talk to that person that you have the problem with? Or are you going to keep going down this path? Because this is going to be the last conversation that you and I have about this issue.
And I'm a firm believer because I tend to have more masculine traits than feminine traits when it comes to the way I think. I'm a very linear, step-by-step problem solver.
You're a scientist as well. So
I'm a scientist. So like my brain, when people are talking, I do ask a lot of questions because in my brain, I'm like, okay, how can I solve this? Because that's how my brain immediately goes. So I'll just start blurting out questions because I'm just trying to come up with a solution.
And you'll throw it in text messaging too, because I was just like, like
I'd be like, all right, wait, so what's this? And what's this? You ain't even asked me. My brain just immediately goes to, because it's like I'm thinking I'm helping. Like, oh, you got a problem. And I think that's more masculine than anything.
I mean, I know I'm thinking about this one time, like you went rapid fire, like text after text. Well, what is it worth? What is your worth? What's your time worth? I'm like, all I did was say I was just trying to price it out. That's all. Like I was just trying to price it out, and I hadn't figured it out yet. But
my brain is like, okay, you're gonna solve it. Let's go.
You know what though? I do love that about you though, because if I know that if I have a problem and I'm ready to tackle it right now, all I got to do is call you or send you a text message, because you'll jump right in with me, right? We'll jump together and we'll figure it out, right? And you won't hold back. Like if there's something I may not want to hear, you still gonna say it, you know? And so I can appreciate that about you. And words cannot say how much I appreciate that about you, because we haven't known each other for an incredible long time. Like it hasn't been a year.
No.
So it hasn't even been a year yet, but I truly feel like there is a part of me and a part of you that does this, right? And it just fits. And because it fits, how many times have we not had to say anything?
I'm losing.
How many have we not had, and yet you know exactly what's on my mind, or vice versa, which is why you won't even let me go to the silent retreat with you, because you keep saying that we'll get kicked out.
We will.
Even if I don't say anything, we're still kicked out because.
And we're going to take you guys on this silent retreat to see how long Kyle and I last before getting kicked out, because I do feel like inevitably we will get kicked out. Now, how long we last is really, that's the unknown part.
Like, are we getting kicked out on day 1 or day 5? Like, that's the question.
That is the question. We're doing this one day, okay? It's going to have to be in the summer when the kids are.
I think that we have matured together.
I think so too.
That we wouldn't get kicked out now. Like, I think we've made it to that point where we wouldn't get kicked out, but you are so certain that we cannot last at a silent retreat together.
I love how you think so highly of us. I really do.
Dude.
I love that. Let's start thinking of us too.
Just not at the silent retreat.
And with that said, guys, I do believe, to me and Kyle's point, one of the things that we both can attest to is having somebody, a sounding board in your life when you are feeling overwhelmed, overworked, underappreciated.
Yeah.
Having someone to just get it out, someone that you can call up that may just listen to you or maybe help you come up with a solution to the problems you have. Because maybe they will be like, well, you need to take out one of those balls that you didn't even think about. And so definitely having a tribe person you have in your life. I definitely could not do life without the people that have come in my life over the years. And I'm so grateful and so blessed because when I listen to other people's stories, I realize that that's not something that everybody has.
Okay, now I have to interject here because there is a disclaimer to what Coach Starr just said. And the disclaimer is, or let me back up for a second. When you're talking about unloading like that, you're really talking about being vulnerable. And when you're being vulnerable, you cannot be vulnerable with everybody because not everybody can handle your level of vulnerability. Not everybody can handle that. And it may surprise you for the ones that actually can't handle it because you've been friends for so long or you've had such an intimate type of relationship for so long and to such a high degree that, and they may have even said, girl, there ain't nothing that you can say that would cause me to like fall out of relationship with you or differently of you or not be able to handle it. And they mean it when they say it. Until you say what that thing is, and the next thing you know, they're done. They can't handle it. Right. And so I'm bringing this up because it is a heartbreaking experience.
I think I've ever had that happen to me.
Oh, well, I have. And it is a heartbreaking experience. And the thing is, not only is it heartbreaking, it makes you wonder, like, well, who can I talk to about this thing, right? And especially if you already have a small circle, right? Which obviously I think that everyone's circle should be pretty small. Like I'm not a big supporter of having like big intimate circles like that. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't seem like sooner or later something's going to break. So. But it makes you evaluate all the other relationships when that happens. It's like, well, will this person be able to handle it? Will that person be able to handle it? And this is why I say therapy. Because that person gets paid. They get paid to handle that level of heaviness. So if you have someone in your life that you can be vulnerable with, that is awesome and amazing, and do whatever you can to make sure you hold on to that particular relationship. However, not all relationships can handle it. And that doesn't mean that that person can't be your friend anymore.
Because I was about to throw them out.
Right. Like, yeah, no, they don't get thrown out. It's just that they have identified to you that there's a level of vulnerability that they can handle, and there's a level that they can't. We can't get mad at the car that lives in Florida for not being able to handle Illinois winters.
Wasn't built.
It wasn't built for that.
Can I say, Kyle?
Yes.
To your point, I said it never happened to me, but I will say this. I have many tribes. I don't have one large intimate group. I have many small intimate groups.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the multifaceted person that I am, I already know which group I can take what challenge to.
I love it. I love it. I can't
know,
take
like
it.
that. No,
Not that.
let me go to the Rolodex of trades. All right, this one. Like, I know that about myself because, and I had for a long time, I struggled with my own identity, my own figuring out who I was, because there's a very free side of me and there's a very reserved side of me. And for a long time, I thought I had to be one or the other. But until I came into the full resolution of who I am, and I'm the sum of all my parts, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And I think that's how all the little mini tribes started, because I was like, oh, I can't but I now celebrate and embrace the fact that I have these different groups of people that can resonate. It's very rare. I don't think I have one group that encompasses all of who I am. And I'm okay with that. I had to create a hybrid.
Yeah. I mean, there are what I try to be to the intimate friendships are, if they called me up and said, I need you to get 2 shovels and we going out somewhere and we got to go dig a hole. I feel like I just want to ask a question. Did they have it coming? I don't need to know the details. Did they have it coming? Right? However, if it's like, no, they didn't have it coming or whatever, like it was a total innocent person, I don't know if that might be where we draw the line, right? Like that's probably where the line gets drawn. No one's ever called me Saint Shovels, by the way.
Yeah, because see me, I like my freedom, so I know my people know not to call me.
They know not to call you.
Don't call me. Let me tell you, I had a situation, one of my really good friends from back in the day, and she was one of those rah-rah people, let's go.
Ride or die.
Ride or die. We grew up in the projects. She was actually, I was a nerd. I was not the cut 'em up, fight 'em up, bang, bang. She was, but we connected on so many levels. And I was like, okay, this is my friend and she's going to protect me, really. That was the Bible thing with her. And so I remember one time, this was, okay, we're adults now, careers, working, and she called me about a situation. And it was, we ride at dawn.
We ride at dawn. You were like,
dawn.
You were like, I am not riding at dawn. No, I am not doing that.
And at this time, I was very much well-rooted in the church, okay? That was the Christian Sapphire. And so the Christian, and it's so funny because when I was like, I forget my exact response to her, and she was like, oh, you think you all that. And my response to her was, now, out of all your friends that you had, I said, I think you called me because you wanted me to talk a bit. Because I know you knew I wasn't that friend. Matter of fact, you got a list of them that would just don't even question. So the fact that you called me lets me know that you really didn't want to do it.
Really wanted. What I'm giving is what you wanted.
What you really wanted. Yeah. And she hung up in my face.
So did she do the thing?
She didn't.
See, that's why. So how often have you gotten what you wanted, but not the way you wanted it?
Ooh.
Right? Like you didn't want it that way, but you got it anyway. And so, like, and the funny thing is, there's like this little petty thing between couples, right? Where the wife wants something from the husband, he gets all like uppity about having to do or get whatever it is, and then he finally does it. I don't want it now, cause and it's like, what you getting? What you wanted? You're getting what you wanted, but because you didn't get it the way you wanted it, might be a whole word by itself. Because
I think that's important. It's just like food. If it's not cooked with love, it's not good. I don't care. it has to, the packaging is important. Delivery is important.
What about in business? In business, we do want results a certain way.
We do.
And sometimes what we're looking for, but it doesn't occur the way we have mapped it out or the way we have planned it. It's like hitting that financial goal. You still hit that goal, but you didn't really work hard for it because someone gave you a referral that actually met the goal that you needed to meet. And so now it's like, I don't feel like I earned it because someone just gave me a client that I
don't have that problem.
I know you don't have that problem, but you get it's a terrible example for something that really does happen, which is getting what we want, but not the way that we wanted it or the way we worked to get it.
Yeah, because I definitely am on my high horse when it comes to once I set my intentions and I tell the Lord what I want.
You don't care how it comes.
It's going to come to me. And I don't feel like I have to work hard for it either because favor ain't fair. But listen, I'm blessed. I gotta be out here breaking my back. We just was talking about that. We just was thinking about working hard. Who, me?
Right. Who, me?
I am not chasing. Federica, I am not chasing. I am attracting. What's for me is for me. All I have to do is walk in it, be intentional, walk in my purpose, do everything that I was designed to do. But I do firmly believe that what's for me is definitely for me. I thought you were saying like in another way, like, yeah.
No, well, again, bad example for a real issue of saying what you want, but not necessarily the way you worked for it or the way you had planned for it to occur and so on and so forth. And but then you also said, hey, the packaging is important. Like if he didn't originally want to do it in the first place and now he's doing it, well, now that's null and void.
Yeah, and that's more or less like what I mean. If you ask someone to do it, but they do it with attitude, they do it with disdain, they do it without love or care, or they do it in a situation out of obligation. And if you're made to feel that as a result of them doing that, then I'm just like, well, girl, you can keep that. Like I don't want it. Not to say that you want to force anybody to do anything, but I do believe how things are delivered. Certain things are important. But just when it comes to business too, my mentor taught me to be firm in your goals and what you want, but be flexible in your approach. Because oftentimes we do get locked in with this is what I want, this is how I want it. And if things don't go according to plan in the sense of you're not getting something the way you thought you were going to get, it's not even showing up at all. And it's like, oh, well, maybe we need to pivot. Maybe we need to make the adjustment. Maybe we can be open up to other ideas and other ways of getting those things, especially if it's coming at the expense of our loved ones, family, our own health. Sometimes I'll be like, nah, this ain't it.
Pivoting is an interesting concept in itself because I feel that it's more normalized now since the pandemic because people have had to learn how to pivot, because of the getting shut down the way they were, and learning when is the appropriate time to pivot because there's a lot of times where we are thinking that we're quitting on something and you're really not quitting, you're just pivoting. Yeah, and so understanding the difference between the two can be a huge impact.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because don't quit. You don't get to quit.
You don't get to quit.
But you do get to pivot.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to let things go.
To me, that's still a part of pivoting. Letting certain things go. Not letting everything go because you're not quitting. You're just letting certain things go.
Because sometimes it's and then that just goes back for me. I don't necessarily see it as a loss. It's a lesson learned. Even if I always say experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. And sometimes we have to evaluate our approaches to things, our strategies, and say, okay, on to the next. Like you say, that pivoting meaning made me letting that go, going on to something else. But that's okay too, because sometimes people may tie their their value of who they are in life into the things that they accomplish and achieve, and
all right, so
who you are.
Now you are starting a whole
you're right. Another
podcast, right? Because that is when we start tying our efforts to our self-worth. I'm gonna stop right there.
That's the next episode, guys. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you can stay tuned to the conversation. Listen, sharing is caring. If you know someone who can use a soul shift, please share this podcast with them. If there's conversations that you would love for us to talk about, topics you would love for us to talk about, go ahead and go to our website at soulshiftsessions.com and you can send us an email. We would love to have those conversations, and maybe we can just, all our subscribers can send us questions and we could just have a podcast dedicated solely to answering your questions. We really, really appreciate you guys being here in season 2 of Soul Shift Session Podcast. We would not be here without you, and we really do appreciate you guys for subscribing, tuning in, putting your comments in the comment section. We would really love it. Give us some things that you do to help you manage and juggle all the balls that you may have in your life. And we're going to end this podcast with final words from Kyle or his quotes. And
those are my final words, is the quote.
Right. I want to say my quote.
Go ahead, give your quote. What's yours?
And I had all these things written down, but when you were talking about being active and we were having that conversation about active, I remember I had a bumper sticker back in the day when I was juggling love life and my career.
You were a bumper sticker lady, huh?
I was. And the bumper sticker said, I run so I don't kill people.
Look at it.
Because I was training for a marathon. And so running helped just, oh my God, when I can get out and run, it really helped me manage and deal with stress. So I don't kill people.
It's interesting about running because I have taken it up multiple times and none of them stuck. But, I found cycling and that works out. Yeah. My final words. We take care of the future best by taking care of the present now.
And with that said, guys, always remember to let your soul glow.
So long, everyone.